Hi guys, welcome to the Nate SRT YouTube channel. It's gonna be my second video. So today, I thought we'd talk about just the car buying experience in general. I'm gonna focus on just the whole situation around when I was trying to get my 2009 Challenger, and just kind of throwing some tips there. If you're looking for a new car yourself. So we just did a pull there. Love those on-ramp pulls. Alright, so the story behind my 2009 Challenger. So when the concept Challenger was released, I just fell in love with the car. Loved it. I had been looking to get a muscle car from that era, maybe a Camaro. Really the Camaro and the Challenger are the two ones, or GTO. Those are the ones that kind of stuck out for me. And so it was kind of always my dream to own something like that from that era. And then they released the concept Challenger, this new 2009 or 2008 actually, that they were going to release, and had the same lines, but all the modern amenities, right? So you had radio, AC, all of that good stuff. So when the car was first announced, I was just following it nonstop, online, forums, all of that stuff. And 2008, they had a limited allocation. I think it was around 3,000 or so Challengers. They were all automatics. I think they only came in orange, silver, and black for that year. And so I just kind of sat that out. There was no way I was going to get a 2008. But then in 2009, they started, this general production of the Challenger. Now they started offering a manual transmission. They had a few more color choices. I really did like the Hemi Orange back then. So I started looking around, and I took a buddy with me. We went to one of the dealerships down here in South Florida, and they had a black SRT. And they also had an orange RT. And at that time, I was a little torn whether the SRT was really, worth the extra money. So I just test drove them back to back. Test drove both of them, and instantly I could tell. I mean, outside of the power bump, which it was only about 50 horsepower, I think, between the RT and the SRT. What struck me as a really large difference between the two cars was the handling, the suspension. Now, I know some of y'all may be thinking, handling on this car is like 4,200 pound car, and it's big. Why would you even care about that anyways? But I can tell you, the SRT, even back then, 2009, didn't have the adjustable suspension or anything. It was still just a lot less floaty than the RT. Lower, more controlled, as controlled as this car can get, than the RT was. So I settled on the SRT. And then we just kind of started looking at, what they had. So that's the part that I would recommend you don't do. So you go to the dealership, test drive the car, make sure, this is the car, I like it. It's comfortable, it drives. I'm not going to have any buyer's remorse over that. But then walk away, right? Walk away, do your own numbers, and then start negotiating over the phone. The mistake I made is I stayed in a dealership. They had a red manual transmission SRT there. I really liked the color. It wasn't my first choice in color, but it was, I like the high impact colors. I don't know, I just like bright colors, I guess. I'm a child that way. So kind of just got suckered into just working with a salesman to see, try to make a deal on the car. We were there for 8 hours negotiating on this car, and it wasn't really negotiating on the car because the dealer wouldn't budge. They were willing to sell the car at sticker, which was surprising for dealers down here in South Florida. They were mostly $10,000, $20,000 over sticker at that time, but he was willing to sell the car at sticker, and so we were just really negotiating over the trade-in value. I had an Infiniti M35 at that time. So anyways, there for 8 hours going back and forth. Finally, we come to an agreement and signed the paperwork, and I drove the car home. Give me 1 second. This guy's weaving in and out of his lane. He's probably texting. So yeah, so finalized the paperwork, drove the car home, and yeah, that was it. And at that time, I lived on the west coast of Florida. We were just here in South Florida for the weekend, so I drove the car back to the west coast, thinking, okay, everything's fine. My wife wasn't super happy that I bought the car on such a whim, understandably so. But anyways, signed the deal, whatever. Get home, the next day, I get a call from the dealership, and they tell me, hey, the bank, they didn't approve the financing, you're gonna have to come down, you have to come over and put another $1,000 down. And I was like, what is this? I'd never heard of, I think it's I forget what it's called, I'll look it up, but basically what the dealerships do is, let's say that you buy a car after hours on the weekend when the banks aren't open. I guess what they'll do is they'll just figure, okay, this is most likely to close, or most likely that, you know, they're going to get approved at this, and so they put it through. Some shady dealerships, I think they just put it through knowing it's not going to close, but they put it through. For whatever reason, the bank took a look at it, which was weird. It was on a Saturday. Now thinking about it, it's like, well, banks won't be open on a Saturday. But anyways, bank came back, apparently, told them that I needed to put another $1,000 down. And he said, hey, you got to give me a credit card for $1,000. And I said, there's no way I'm putting another $1,000 down. We signed a contract. That was the terms of the deal. That's it. You eat it off the selling price if you want. I mean, you sold me the car at stickers, so I know you got some money left in the car. And he wouldn't do it. He said, look, you got two choices. You can bring the car back, or you can put the $1,000 down. I told him, well, I'll see you tomorrow. So keep in mind, the drive from the East Coast to the West Coast of Florida, it's about, say, 100, well, yeah, it's about 130 miles. It was a new car, so I'd just been driving it everywhere anyways, just, you know, having fun. So by the time I took this new car back to return it, and luckily they still had my trade, so I could get my trade back. This car had almost 500 miles on it. But, you know, it was just, I mean, almost just principle of the matter. I mean, if this is a deal we sign, I'm not gonna accept worse terms for myself. Took the car back, gave him the keys. I think like everyone was surprised when I showed up at the dealership. Wow, this guy actually came back. And then took the keys for my trade, have him reverse the deposit that I had put on the card, and that's it. Never dealt with that dealership again. And the other thing actually that did piss me off about that dealership was on the drive back to the West Coast, the car had a vibration, the wheel, like around 80, right? Like 80 miles per hour, you get a vibration in the wheel. And I didn't know this, but apparently, you know, those cars like the Camaro and stuff that came out at that time with such big wheels, they just had some problems with wheel balancing, high-speed wheel balancing. And so I called the dealership service department as soon as I got back, or as soon as I heard about that, and I told them, hey, you know, I got this problem, right? Just bought this car, and you know, getting this shutter. And his response, the service manager's response was, okay, so? And so I was like, this is your customer service right after you just sold me a car yesterday? And when I talked to the sales manager about the whole contract thing, I told him this, and he's like, oh, no problem, you know, come here, we'll take care of it. All nice, right? Because they're all nice when they want your money. But, you know, once they got that money, once they've signed it, they really could give a rat's ass about you at that point. So that was just another reason why I was like, you know what, screw these guys, I'm returning this car. But I still wanted a Challenger, right? So I was looking up Challengers still, left, right, center, forums, everything. And that's where I stumbled across Bob Fredericks. It was far, right? It's like a 1,200 mile drive from South Florida, Ohio. But seemed like a real stand-up guy. I like road tripping. Seemed like it would have been a fun adventure. I called him up. He made a deal, basically honored the same trade-in value the other dealer had given me for this car, sight unseen, which I thought was pretty damn cool. And And yeah, he had a Hemi Orange Challenger in the showroom that he sold to me for a sticker, and that was it. So drove my trade all the way up 1,200 miles. That was grueling because we left in the night. I do not recommend you do that. We left in the night, and it was me and my wife taking turns driving up, just trying to stay awake. I mean, thinking about it now, super dangerous. Like, we should have just waited and maybe gone early morning or something like that, or just shipped the car up. I don't know. But anyways, we drove up. Met Bob, met his whole family. Super cool bunch of people, and yeah, and like I said in the last video, it was literally took me 30 minutes to get in and out of that dealership with the new car. And then yeah, I just had this big grin on my face driving that car back the whole way from Ohio. I drove it on my own. It's a stick. My wife doesn't drive stick, so I drove it, but I had no problems. I drove that car straight from Ohio down to South Florida. I think we stopped somewhere in North Carolina at a Cracker Barrel to get some pancakes, but that was it. Other than the rest stops, that was our only stop, and it was such a fun drive. But yeah, that was that's pretty much the story of my first Challenger. And after that, I just kind of been hooked. I've changed cars for various life events. After the 2008 or 2009 recession, things got really bad. I had a business over on the west coast of Florida. Things got really bad there. We had to move back here. Took a different job. I had to get rid of the car. I was driving a Prius for a year and a half. That was awful. It's like I equate that driving experience to driving like a dishwasher, right? Basically, it was just like an appliance. And nothing against the Prius. I mean, my wife has one now. Great car for what it's made for, which is just like fuel efficiency. But it's just not like the funnest thing about that car was just to try and see how much mileage you could eke out of it, right? Which, like, you do this thing called pulse and glide. That's what they all talk about, where you give it some gas and then you let off the gas and you see how far you can coast. And that was the most fun you have in the car. But yeah, I tell you what, that fun wears off pretty damn quick, and then yeah, you're stuck daily driving a Prius. It was pretty bad. So when things got better, kind of got back on my feet, because we lost our house over there on the west coast, so had to kind of get out of that financial situation, got back on our feet. Then I picked up a used 2011 392 Challenger. Again, that one I picked up out of state. That one was up in Detroit. Flew up, drove down, and yeah, and I've just kind of been on and off after that. Had an Audi S5, and then the Hellcat came out and I was sold. And this is, I think, the longest I've ever had a car has been this car, and it just gives me a grin every time I drive it. So I go through these things in my mind. Should I get rid of it? I mean, maybe it makes sense. I could invest the money, something like that. We'll talk about that in another video. But I don't know. I just really enjoy this car. You just never know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? So you need to have some kind of enjoyment in life as well. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Just a little bit of insight on the whole car buying experience. So remember, takeaway from this is do not negotiate in person. Do all of that stuff online, over the internet, email, phone, whatever it is. Make sure you got your terms of the deal squared away before you walk into a dealership. All right, well, this has been fun. I hope you guys have a good day, and we'll talk more another time. All right, thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please click like. Please leave me a comment, and if you want to see more videos, click subscribe. Thanks. Bye.